Hello everyone. I'm going to be doing something different. I don't think I've done an actual tutorial where I actually just show you guys how to play songs that I know. I think I've done like breakdown video. Which I might have showed you guys like how to kind of play out chords and stuff like that. But today I'll be trying to teach you guys a tutorial on True Love by Elliott. Wonderful, talented songwriter. There's not really much else I can say on the matter without, basically repeating myself a million times and repeating a bunch of other people's take on him. But I personally, one of my favorite singer-songwriters and musicians ever, especially on the guitar, like what he was able to do on the guitar. And basically, I'm gonna try to break down my impression of how. I'm not trying to act as if I just have I've heard certain things that he's done on the guitar with it that I tried to kind of make sense of, but but basically he's in the key of A, or at least it's starting out in the key of A, but he switches around a lot. People have compared it to almost like a classical or romantic song, like almost like Rachmaninoff, I think. And he does something where he's like doing kind of like that. If you see the video of me playing, I play it really shoddily. Like I'm not really able to make those stretches as well as he was. But yeah, like just kind of like that high A there, and then he goes to like kind of I like kind of doing. You can do like full, like you don't have to strum out the whole chord, but. And then he does kind of like a regular A with the fifth, kind of that E. So he does, what I just did there was something like, starts out in A, so it starts out, that's kind of the fifth, that's kind of the riff, I want to say motif, is the right correct word for that, because that shows up under that same thing, under different things, that A in the bass, I believe it's called a pedal point when you have the same bass, but the underlying chord changes, like, something like, something like a, like that's the same, or maybe it's not quite a pedal point, but like the underlying chord changes while the root bass note remains the same. Well, it doesn't have to necessarily be the root, but yeah, he does it a lot, kind of like that, and then he does like walking up, and to a C major. He does that, and then he does kind of like I've seen tabs do that. I'm not sure if I hear that kind of F sharp, that kind of major seventh. I guess you could play it like just like G minor 7, or you could play it with a third of the bass or whatever. And I'll try to refrain from using super technical language, mostly because I don't know a lot of super technical language. Anyway, so it works out. But basically, yeah, it does that, and it's like and then an F, and then I like to do kind of like a thing with a bass, like there, going up to a G real quick. And then the thing that you'd always notice in this riff right here. You hear that? I believe that's like a harmonized in thirds, I think, or maybe not. The G sharp and an A or an E, and then it goes to an A and a F sharp, and then a B and a G sharp. So it's like. And then he goes to an F sharp minor, which I love that, because instead of going to, you think he's going to go to la da la da da da, you think he's going to do this, but no, he goes to the relative minor below that. He actually goes to F sharp. To love is a rose, and then he goes to a beautiful A major 7. You can play it like that. You can play that. You can play it like this. You can play different versions. You can play. I think at some point I try to do that. Basically, I try in my cover, and a lot of times I admit I try to kind of express chords in elaborate ways that they need to be expressed. Be like, oh well, I have to do that. I have to reach this G sharp, that high note there, and I have to do that. Like, I don't have to do that, but it's like I overcomplicate things. But in doing so, I basically I overweigh the amount of possible things I'm able to do at one time, and I basically, rather than just making simplistic or more simpler ways, which work just as well, if not better, because rhythm is important too. And been trying to learn that over the years. But yeah, he does that, and so he's like, first he's doing true love is a road. Okay, now very wonderful. That's genius right there, because what he's doing is like, so to the F sharp minor, and then to the B minor with the minor second of the second degree of that secondary, because that is the major. That is I believe that you'd call that kind of a Picardy third or something like that, because it's like that should actually be minor, but that, and then kind of a seventh tonality in there too, the dominant seventh, and then you also hear that too a lot, which is beautiful, because it's like weaving in and out of like C major / A minor and A major and F sharp minor, which is really genius, because that in and of itself is kind of, you have to work in chords that walk up to different ones, like this, certain fifths, like he kind of does that. That tonality right there is very melodic. It's like he wants to get rid of that, but he goes to this instead. Not in that, he does it. He does that. So it's like kind of like he's almost reaching out the limits of like further possibilities, which he could do with a kind of chord. Or a lot of people just kind of do they just do. Or something like that, which is fine, nice and fine and dandy. Everybody starts out somewhere, but he, Elliott Smith, expresses, he goes for the tougher thing, like the tougher ways of playing out chords, and what, theoretically what is in the realm of possibility, and he and while also being entirely unique about it, like his chord progressions are unlike anything I've heard, can range from like very simple type of things, like something like that, or he'd be like, some of them are like Beatles-esque, or but he does stuff like this a lot. I've people have said like going from that kind of subdominant, that kind of borrowed chord there, right, like that, and then he'll like resolve it to like something a third above it, and he does does it a lot too, with like various things too, like going to kind of, there's like a relationship between his chords. So yeah, it's like something embedded in tradition, while he's also taking, but he's also kind of, experiments with his own stuff too, which is very cool. So anyway, continuing on that, he does that, like kind of, you get that instead, because like earlier you're getting, but he's still kind of doing this, and then backs up. And if you want to do kind of like a bit of a, like, you know, so those kind of melodic ones, those half-steppy type of things. I believe he does that twice. Okay. Okay, no. Well, actually, before he does that, he goes back to that F. Again, like that kind of thing. But if you just want to do just a regular thing, or you could do this. There's plenty of different things. I think you can do. Like you can harmonize that. You know that. You know, like that tension, right? And you know, there's. I believe that's called like the harmonic minor scale in A minor or any minor. But then he was. I like to kind of because it's going from F to A minor. And then it goes. And then. There's different ways you can do it. I tried doing that. All of a sudden, I was like, oh, all of a sudden when I was covering it, I was like, oh, I should do this. But I caught myself so off guard by it. But by the time I did. Anyway, back to this. So back into what I was doing. Okay, there's also a point where he's like, okay, so he's like, now, I'm not trying to overanalyze this, but what he's doing is like, so he's going at D minor, right? Kind of, which you know is actually minor fourth of A, so another relationship there. It's almost like seeing like the way I see chords interacting with each other is like D minor is like, you know, it's like cousins with A minor. You know, wants to resolve. It's like saying hi, A minor, and wants to kind of resolve and be like, I want to go to your place, and you stop there. Same thing with F. You know, F is like related to D minor because that's like that. It's like people go into the whole thing of cage too, which I thought was boring as all hell when I first heard of it. I was like, cage system. It's like, but no, it's actually really, it takes a load off your mind because there's these you know, like these chords that are in the shape of this, like for example, like that and that, you know, that shape and this shape are basically just used in various degrees up the neck, and that's pretty much, you know, all you need to learn in so far as bar chords are concerned. And some open chords, you know, like E or C or G, D, and A. But yeah, that really helped out. And then there is some very important thing that I'm sorry, I'm getting so tracked, but it was something like, what was like, it was like, like that first and the fourth, you know, like a 1, 4, 5, 4, and then there's a 2, 2, and then there's also various things of that you can do. So you can do a G, C, D. Notice how there's variations on that. You know, like that A minor to the B minor is basically a different. Is basically, you know, pretty much the same, not you know, but it's like the more kind of groovier minor version, you know, depending. And then there's different. I know, you know, Smith does Elliott Smith does a lot of that too. So anyway, he's doing kind of like that. He goes like a to C, resolving to C almost, because that's the second degree of the C major scale. So it's like that sounds like almost home, right? It's like it was like both Elliott Smith. I'm not saying he uses them here, but Sufjan Stevens also does a thing where he'll use like chords like he'll use something like that, like he'll use sixth chords, which are basically kind of like a sad variant of. It's not just like I'd say it's almost like sad, or in my opinion, this music is very subjective, but it's like kind of like that, right? It's like, or like a drum notes like that, or like I'm trying to think off the top of my head. A lot of carry and low, for example. Something like that. Like instead of your typical thing, it's like, oh, that actually sounds more like a minor chord. It almost sounds like E minor, right? Elliott Smith does a lot of that too. Very nice way of kind of adding a sadder tone to your song, if that's what you're going for. So yeah, he does that, and he's like, here's what's I really love. It's a B flat, right? That is actually not in any of these C major. That's like, it sounds like so weird, because it's like, wait a minute, where am I hearing that before? That's like again, a barred chord, basically. I've heard, I don't know if it's right to call that a Neapolitan chord. I've heard that in classical, like, you'll hear something like, and then something in A, and then you'll hear like, or like, you'll hear like, and then, and I've actually heard another thing I believe that is B flat and E, or a tritone apart, meaning that basically the tones up the scale, I think between an octave, and I only know this because I just like happened to see a point laid out on the piano from let's say E to E. That B flat is actually in the right smack dab in the middle of all those tones, and it has just like this very unresolved sound. Like it wants to go to that perfect fifth, right? It's like ooh, it's like so like weird to hear that kind of in blues too, like. Something like that. So that's what it sounds like. Smith is doing. So it's like you can use that, or you can use a seventh or a seventh. What do you do? That sound kind of, but even that could work too. It's like kind of like and then you go back right to that B flat sharp. I'm not quite going to do this because I want to make sure that. So, final part of the song. I believe I am not missing anything. I believe those in variations I did diverge from our main course, but near the end it goes back into that, back into that A major. Kind of that same thing. But now we go into, like, again, that pedal point type of thing. Okay, no, it's actually. It's like that minor, but you can also hear like kind of this other instrument he's overlaying, and it's very beautiful. Just like he's going back like, even when he goes to that D minor, I believe, I could be wrong, I think he's, even though when he goes to that, you know, that, that, like, perfect. In that kind of like seventh here, that. Yeah, he doesn't. It's just like his voice is like very broken near the end. It's just like, you know, it's like, and then what I don't know if I actually hear him doing this, but like what I like to kind of do is like play that in like diads, I believe, 2 notes or kind of. So like, or you could play it like this too. It's basically a version of the same thing, but you can actually. I just think that actually sounds cool. Oh, jinxing myself. And it just sounds nice. So yeah, just get creative with it. Do what, you know, if you want to add certain things, you know, like if you want to play down the fret, you want to play up the fret, you know, it took me kind of months of different variations of trying to figure this out, and even then I didn't feel like I was adequate enough for me to, yeah, but yeah, let me know what you think. I believe that from judging from my searches, I was actually able to locate another tutorial on how to play the song. So I'm not trying to say like first, like this is like kind of my way of saying first, but maybe it is the onus on me now is to kind of make something that's not misinformed. You know, I don't want to misinform you guys, but I definitely probably played stuff wrong, and I'm just trying to tell you guys that right now. I'm just like trying to say that, hey, I'm not perfect at this, so I'm constantly growing and learning. So yeah, just anybody's take on that is very much appreciated. So thank you. See you later.